This week we visited Lakewood Brewing Company in Garland, Texas.
I was introduced to Lakewood through Temptress, through a coworker of mine, said give it a shot, and it was amazing, and it had a very unique flavor to it, and very full flavor.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little more about
So,
your
Temptress is definitely our signature beer. That is the beer we're most known for. That is the beer that gets the most press. It is kind of our baby.
Yeah.
She has been great to us, and she's just been beautiful. So, it's an Imperial Milk Stout, which you don't see too many of that style. It's hard to place a thumb on the Temptress because it is a 9.1% alcohol milk stout made with lactose sugar, and lactose is the only sugar that does not one of the only sugars that does not ferment. So that's where that milky character comes out and the sweetness of it. Yeah. And we use vanilla extract as well in the fermentation process. So whenever it's done brewing, and we in the fermentation vessel, we add the lactose and the vanilla extract. Yeah. And that's what gives it that extra sweet character.
So what are you drinking now? What do you have in front of you?
So this is our Rock Rider. This is our American rye wheat beer. This is fantastic beer for this kind of weather. It's kind of hot. Our brewer's over there trying to catch some of the fan. It's even hotter now because we're brewing today, so it's gonna get pretty hot in here.
Smell that extract in the air. Yeah,
absolutely. It's beautiful. I think he's brewing Temptress as we speak. It's a funny thing about this beer because it has two of the most like, how do I put this? Unapproachable words. Like when people say rye and people say wheat, a lot of beer people get like a little uppity and go, I don't really like wheat beers, or rye, I don't really like rye. So you put them both together, it's kind of like a beer that's just people are going to always kind of go, I don't know. When they really try it, back here.
Oh, if you don't mind,
Yeah, give it a try.
Please.
So it's much more cleaner than your average wheat beer. It's going to taste almost like an American pale ale. With the rye, gives it a nice peppery note on the front, the rye spices, and then almost a lemon zest from the yeast strain.
I taste that, yeah.
This is actually the same yeast strain we use in this as the Temptress.
Really? Interesting. Interesting.
When we do events and we go out, we do beer events, and we try to get our word out and our name out. And a lot of times the people that come to the events aren't necessarily craft beer drinkers. Yeah. You have your craft beer crowd, but a lot of people just come because it's a festival. It's a thing to do.
Exactly.
Which is even better because we like to get those people. So what happens is we get a lot of people, and it's my favorite thing. Back when I used to do a lot more events and promotions, you tell someone, it's like, it's an Imperial Milk Stout. And the first thing they hear is stout, and it's like, it's a dark beer. I don't even know. And then it's like, what does Imperial mean? Does that mean it's special? It's like, it just means it's high alcohol. It's like, why is there milk in it? Technically, it's got milk sugar. Yeah. So when you kind of go down the list of questions, but the first thing that people gravitate towards is, it's dark. Yeah. It's going to be hoppy, or that's another thing that people always kind of go. It's like, dark means hoppy or dark means strong. Yeah. Some of the easiest drinking beers I've ever had has been dark beer. To that point, when people say when you say like, here, try it. Yeah. They're like, I don't like stouts, or I don't like hoppy beers. Like, just try it. And when you see their eyes open, there's nothing that gives someone that works at a brewery more pride than that conversion moment. Satisfaction of really knowing is like, this person has never experienced what you were giving them.
In order to drink a beer, in order to enjoy a beer, how would you tell somebody new to craft beer? What would you tell them first?
So there's a process to enjoying a good craft beer. We like to say we drink with our eyes. So always depends on a clean glass first, and you visually see the beer. You see the color, you see the SRM, you see the hue. You kind of get a general mental idea of what you're about to taste. Yeah. Like this is a nice light hue. So it's probably going to be very crisp, very drinkable, very light. And then when your brain associates, and everything's happy. So you drink with your eyes first. You make very opinionated judgments just by seeing a dark beer. You make there's initial judgments.
Of course.
So next is smell, and you swirl it around.
Are you heating up the liquid a little bit to let the aromas out? Or?
Yeah, you heat up so your proper craft beer should be drunk anywhere from about 40 to 50 degrees, depending on the style. Yeah. Too cold, and the flavors won't be there, and you won't smell anything. Yeah. Muted. Too hot, and it's going to start tasting a little just weird. Not bad, it's just going to taste like a warm beer. Yeah. And let's be honest, we're not here to drink warm beer. Exactly. You do want a cold beer, but you don't want it too cold. But you smell the beer, you get all the aromas, your hops aroma out of everything, and then, next is tasting. And the way I like to taste beer is I like to compartmentalize.
Okay.
So I consider my mouth in 3 different stages: your front, your palate, and your back.
Okay.
So to me, the front nose on this is the Rock Rider, like I said, the rye wheat beer.
Yeah.
So the front is very peppery, very initial, very crisp, peppery on the front. And then the back has that lemon zest, that zesty as you swallow.
Yeah.
And then on the palate, what lingers, what the tongue kind of just sits on, is that's where the wheat is. The wheat is on the palate.
Really? Okay.
That's to me anyway.
Yeah,
tongues are very different from time to time.
Of course. No,
I mean, Zomer, one of our Czech pilsners, is very dry. So the palate is actually, you don't really get much on the palate at all. To get into craft beer, go to your local craft beer bar. I mean, you can go to your store and buy singles, but a lot of times you'll buy something and you won't like it because you're still trying to develop that taste.
Exactly.
A lot of your craft beer bars will be very accommodating. For here locally, there's my neighborhood bar is Flying Saucer, and they're very good about if you want to try a sample of something. Just say, hey, I'd like to try that. They'll pour you a little sample of something, so you can, instead of buying, an entire beer that you don't know whether you're going to like, get some samples. Like, get out there, be adventurous, try new things. Believe me, no matter which city you're in, there's going to be a craft beer bar.
Given that you've been into beer for a couple years now, I assume.
Yes.
Do you find it hard to enjoy a beer?
Oh,
because you're thinking about it too hard every time. I do that personally.
To be honest, there are very many times where it'd be beer. Sometimes I just want a margarita. I'm in Texas. Sometimes I just want a margarita. I just want a cheap frozen margarita from my local taco place. No, that happens from time to time. Too much of one thing, you can get sick of it.
Yeah,
for sure. I love beer. I always try to make sure I have some bombers at home. I have a cellar at home. I age stuff.
Cool.
And I love it. There's always going to be a new beer. There's always going to be a new brewery. There's always going to be something you haven't had before. Antigoon's Revenge, our legendary, is something that people haven't really tried before. It's a 12.5% cherry wood smoked Belgian Golden Strong. It's a big, huge beer. And it's something that people really haven't had before. Yeah. And so getting out there, trying new things, but sometimes it's just like, I just want a glass of wine.
No, I understand. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. And, thanks for coming out, man.
Oh, great. Well, other than that,
and Skol.
Skol. I should have asked that. That's Belgian, right?
Yeah, Flemish.
It's
Flemish for cheers.
While at Lakewood, we ran into Mike Cortez, the creator of the blog Texas Beer Guide.
Texas Beer Guide started as an online resource to give everybody in Texas the idea of Texas beer, where to find it, tour information, beer information, and it was also great for people who weren't able to come into Texas before the beer laws changed, giving people the opportunity to tour the breweries.
What got you interested in craft beer?
Craft beer actually started as a writer in Houston. I was a writer at the Houston Chronicle. I started as a food and drink writer, became in love with beer, did a lot of events with alcohol, tequila mainly, and then I started homebrewing, and a couple of friends of mine fell in love with it, and we wanted to start a brewery one day.
Okay. How did you get involved in going around to different beers, different breweries to find out what they're doing, what makes them great?
The way I see it is life's short. You got to try something different. You can't keep trying the same thing over and over again. I see myself as a beer appreciator, so I'm always looking to try something new, something different.
Okay.
And my biggest thing is I support the local scene. I love Texas. This is my state. It's my hometown, and you have to support the local business to grow together.
Okay. What's your favorite beer here?
Here, oh man, that's a toss-up between their Temptress and their Antigoon specialty beer. That was pretty amazing, that Belgian.
I'm more of a stout person myself.
Definitely. So. I mean, I go between stouts and IPAs, so I could go either way, but that Temptress is pretty seductive. So a year and a half ago, while starting up, right when I started Texas Beer Guide, launched it in Austin, I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. So that kind of put a little halt on me, but I'm starting to come back and get back my feet and get my life together. I'm at a year and a half mark now. I just recently been approached by a publishing company to write Beer Lover's Guide to Texas.
Okay.
And so right now I'm traveling the state, checking out different breweries, brew pubs, and bars, checking out making what's a tour guide to Texas. They want to turn Texas Beer Guide into a book.
What would be if somebody were to come to Texas and could only visit one brewery, what would it be?
It's like asking me to pick my favorite kid.
Yeah.
There's just so many spots. There really is. Every scene's got a different thing going. Houston's got an amazing beer scene, Dallas and Austin, and even San Antonio. Picking one is hard. you can really flip a coin. I really can't pick one because they're all so great. Texas Beer Guide is pretty much followed by what started out as the craft beer nerds. Now they've expanded to people who aren't from Texas to learn about beer. We're getting lots of hits from outside of Texas. Now that the laws have changed and people have more access to get to the breweries, they're starting to get a lot of people from outside, and which is great because people are learning that it's hard to compete with Colorado and California, but Texas, man, we're the biggest state, so we're definitely bringing that side up. Traveling through Texas, there's so many small towns, and Texas is known, the stereotypical cowboys and everything. I've been caught in I guess what they call a country traffic jam, which is cattle completely blocking the street. I was stuck for about 30 minutes, could not move my truck because I was stuck between at least 40 cows taking up the whole road. Okay. But yes, don't drink and drive. Make sure you watch out for the cattle. My theme for Texas Beer Guide is support the local scene. This is our state. Support what's local. Drink local. There's so many great craft beers outside of the state, but there's so many here, and I think so many people don't realize what's around them.